press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hello children. So our discussion last time was coordination chemistry, which started. So we'll continue. Last time we talked about Warner's theory of coordination compounds, in which I told you there are two types of valencies, primary and secondary. Primary are ionizable and secondary valencies are non-ionizable, and they determine the shape. We discussed the concept of metal atom, central metal atom, right? So central metal atom will provide orbitals for the incoming electrons, and we talked about ligands. What are ligands? Electron donors. So when can a substance act as a ligand? I told you it should have a lone pair of electron or there is a negative charge, and it should have a tendency to donate the electron pair. So I discussed the concept of coordination compound formation in terms of Lewis acid base concept last time, in which I told ligands will work as Lewis bases and central metal atom will act as Lewis acid. So these two definitions were clear. Then we cleared out the concept with respect to coordination polyhedra, or that's also called as coordination entity. That was a discussion that we have done yesterday as well in our previous class. Right. So let us have a look on different types of complexes. First off, children, when you look on the complex ion, this complex can be cationic or anionic, or it can be neutral. I hope I have discussed the pattern there. First of all, let us show one coordination compound, and in that coordination compound we will show all the terms that we have discussed so far. So we discussed a coordination compound in modern day terminology is represented by square brackets. Say we have a coordination compound like CO, then you got NH3 6 times, outside it will be Cl3. Or we can take the example in the form of, we have PT, we have NH3, we have Cl, we have Br, and we have NO2 present. Now here we have K attached to it. Now what did I call last time? These are called as counter ions. This is on the whole, this is a complex ion, complex entity, also called as, what is this also called as? Coordination sphere. This is coordination sphere. What does this mean? This is coordination number, and what are these? These are ligands. In the present case, there are 3 chlorines outside the coordination sphere. So it will give the test for how many chlorines? 3 chlorines. Because when it is treated with silver nitrate, it will give you 3 moles of AgCl. Each chlorine will have a charge of -1. That means the complex on the whole will have a charge of +3. Ammonia, we know ammonia is a neutral molecule. It doesn't have any charge on it at all. So it is 0. The number of electrons needed by counter ion should be given by the complex. Yes, because the total, it's like this, children. This is cation and this is anion. In simple, when you do the nomenclature of coordination compounds, first of all, in a coordination complex, like in case of normal salts, what do you show first? Cation, then followed by anion. Suppose when you have NaCl, sodium chloride, MgCl2, magnesium chloride, H2SO4. So whatever the positive part of the substance is there, according to IUPAC nomenclature, according to inorganic nomenclature, we name that first. In the present case, this complex is a cation. Understand it well. This complex on the whole is a cation, and these are anions. So whenever you have to name this compound, because that will be our next discussion, nomenclature of coordination compounds. When you name first you have to name which part? Cationic part. whether that cationic part is a simple cation like this. This is also a coordination compound. What are these? Ligands. These all are ligands. What is this? This is central metal atom. And what is this? This is again counter ion. So in this case, counter ion has what charge? Positive charge. Means when it dissociates, it will dissociate into a cation, and this whole will be what? Anion. Because the electron that has been lost by potassium will go on this complex. It will be minus here. Now later in, when we discuss about different types of ligands, there we will show that, and even you know, NO2, oxidation state of Br is minus, chlorine is also minus, NO2 is also minus. Oxidation state of NO2 is minus. How many electrons are needed on the whole in this complex? 1, 2, 3. 1 is lost by potassium. That means 2 should be lost by platinum. So platinum will be under +2 oxidation state in this complex. Let us see here. Ammonia is a neutral molecule. It does not have any charge on it. So it will be 0. The 3 electrons to be lost, which are lost by the complex. In the complex, those are lost by what? Cobalt. So this is the oxidation state of cobalt. So I mean to say, in a coordination complex, oxidation state of central metal atom is checked on the basis of the charges of the ligands and the number of charges required by the counter ion. If the counter ion is anion, then the electron has to be given by the complex ion. And in complex ion, if neutral ligands are there, negatively charged ligands are there, all are to be compensated by the metal atom. Am I clear or not? They are all to be compensated by metal atom. Then you can see the second case here also. There is counter ion, but it's a cation. So whenever you name this compound, you will name what first? Cation, followed by this whole entity. Remember, during the nomenclature of coordination compounds, the whole coordination compound, coordination entity is named as 1. So this 6 represents what? Coordination number. But it's not always necessary. So what is this complex here? What's the charge here? +3. So it is a cationic complex. What is the charge on the complex here? Minus. This is the anionic complex we have. And then neutral complex like FeCO5. Now do we have any counter ion here? No. What is the charge of carbonyl carbon? It is 0. Oxidation state of CO is 0. Iron will be under 0 oxidation state in the present complex. So when we do the nomenclature, there only we will calculate the oxidation states of elements as well. So let us do some questions. So here you understood how to calculate oxidation state, children. Did you understand or not? Right. Let us see and let us find out oxidation state of some of the elements. Suppose we have a complex like K, we have coordination complex K3, then FeCN6. We know when I am showing this square bracket, this means coordination entity, it doesn't break and it will not break. It will not give for test for Cn, not give test for Fe, but definitely it will give test for potassium. On dissociation, what does it give you? It will give you 3K plus this complex Fe, then Cn whole 6. Now tell me what will be the charge on this? It will be -3 because the electron is lost by potassium will go on this complex. So those that in IUPAC nomenclature, the total charge which is present on the coordination complex is shown as a superscript on the coordination entity. So that's a superscript I have mentioned, -3 here, right? Now Cn, what is the oxidation state of Cn? Minus. Cn is -1, right? So HCN, when it breaks, it gives you Cn minus. That means what is meant by the oxidation state of that metal atom or of that ligand? It is the net charge it has on it in its individual form. So it is to be compensated. The number of electrons lost by potassium are 3. So there are already 3 electrons that this complex has got. That will mean those 3 electrons will balance 3 Cn. So how many more Cn are needed? How many more electrons are needed? 3. Those will be lost by iron. So iron will be under +3 oxidation state here. Is it clear? Suppose we have a complex like this. K2, Pt, Cl2, NH3 twice. This is the complex that is given to us. We have to find out what is the oxidation state of central metal atom in the given complex. Because when we do IUPAC nomenclature, children, there also I will explain again in each example what we are naming, we will calculate the oxidation state as well. So before that, we will have a discussion of ligands to do as well. Clear or not? So you understood basic definitions. Central metal atom is the metal atom or ion which accepts the electrons from atom or group of atoms called as ligands. Ligands donate electrons, central metal atom accepts electrons. And what is the bond made between the two? Coordinate bond. All the atoms which are making coordinate bond will not break apart from the metal atom. As a result of that, those are secondary valencies which are non-ionizable, which determine the shape. So this on the whole will be called as coordination polyhedra. Why? Because these ligands which are attached to central metal atom have directional properties, because they are directional bonds. Because they are directional, they will be arranged in space varyingly. According to that, many shapes of coordination compounds will come into play. So remember, primary valencies, unless and until they perform dual role, will not determine the shape of a coordination complex. And if you want to understand how many ligands are attached to it, 6. So this is the coordination number. Coordination number means the total number of atoms directly linked to the central metal atom. The total number of atoms directly linked to the central metal atom. So that's a coordination number for us here. And in each coordination number, the number of electrons donated will be 2, because there is a coordinate bond made. So this won't be breaking apart at all. Now, in this case, let us see the oxidation state. Naming will do different. So this is a counter ion or not? It will give you how many? What will be I value for it? 3. What will be I value for it? 4. Very good. Now, charge on the complex is 2 minus. NH3 is a neutral ligand, no charge. Chlorine is -1. 2 electrons are needed. They are lost by what? Potassium. Charge on the complex is 2 minus. So this becomes what? Anion. This part is what? Cation. So how many electrons are needed? 2. They are already given by potassium. Then platinum will be under 0 oxidation state. So oxidation state of platinum in the complex will be 0. Am I clear? So on the whole, children, when you show any coordination complex, what is this one? Counter ion. What is this one? Coordination sphere. What is this one? Central metal atom. What is this? Ligand. What is this? Coordination number. Right? So what did I say? The first classification of complex ion. So this complex ion will be a cation or anion. Sorry, not the complex ion. Complex can be a cation or anion or neutral. I have given you different examples. Now if you are asked which of the following, which of the given examples of coordination compounds is a cationic complex, you should be able to find it out. Counter ions, what is the counter ion attached to it? According to that you can decide whether it is cationic or anionic. So this is classification of complexes, right? So what are complexes? They are here classification on the basis of charge. Then you have one more classification depending upon what type of ligands are attached to it. This is the classification of complex on the basis of charge. Then children, one more classification is there for coordinate complexes on the basis of the types of ligands attached to it. What are the types of ligands? So first one is complex or coordination complex, classification on the basis of charge. So I said there are 3 classes. What are they? Cationic, anionic, neutral. That's one classification that I have told you. One more classification of the complex is on the basis of types of ligands. What does it mean? If ligands are same and if ligands attached to central metal atom are different. Ligands attached are same and ligands attached are different. What I mean to say? Say we have a complex Cr H2O 6 times plus 3. Then you have a complex Cr H2O 4 times NH3 twice. Again we have a complex here as plus 3. Charge of the two is same. Now this complex is made up of only one type of a ligand. Which one is it? Water. And this is made up of how many ligands? Two different types of ligands, right? Water and ammonia. So this one, which is attached by different ligands, is called as heteroleptic complex. So what are those complexes called as? Heteroleptic complex. And those which are made up of same ligands are called as homoleptic complexes. So we have homoleptic and heteroleptic complexes. Now if you have chromium, H2O 3 times ClBrNO2, then obviously this again heteroleptic. So this classification is on the basis of the ligand is attached to the atom. So in our future discussions we will discuss which of the two are more stable and why. Those complexes, I'll tell you one more definition here. On the basis of stability, there is one more definition that you can put forward. On the basis of stability of complexes, you have two different classes. What are those? Perfect complexes and imperfect complexes. Perfect complexes are also called as non-ionizable complexes, and imperfect are called as ionizable complexes. In simple words, I am not talking about counter-ion. When I say perfect complex means it will not give any test for the ligands and central metal atom at all, even if you give extreme amount of energy to it. However, if very high amount of energy is given, extreme high amount of energy is given, and if the complex is imperfect, when imperfect complex comes into play, usually the ligand is attached have got steric hindrances and they have many other unstabilizing factors present in it. That's why higher amount of energy given breaks it into the individual components itself, right? So we have stability of the complex. There are two different types. One is called as perfect complex and one is called as imperfect complex. So this is one more classification on the basis of stability. So children, complex ions can be discussed, or complex, not central metal atom, complex on the whole. Coordination entity on the whole can be discussed on the basis of charge. It can be discussed on the basis of the ligand types attached. It can be discussed on the basis of stability. Am I clear or not? So this is with respect to complex. Now, central metal atom, all of you understood. So what is central metal atom in the different cases? Suppose here it is chromium, here also it's chromium, and different examples I have given, different types of complexes central metal atoms will come into play. Now, one very important discussion on which whole of this coordination chemistry is dependent, and that is ligands. So what did I mention ligands are? Yes. Okay, so we have the next one. Ligands. What are ligands? Ligands are atoms or group of atoms or ions. When I say ions, it can be negative or positively charged, which have what? Number one, lone pair of electrons, and number two important, can donate electrons. So if an atom has lone pair of electrons and is in a position to donate the electrons as well, we call such atoms or group of atoms as ligands. Am I clear? So ligands donate their electron pair to the central metal atom, and the bond made between the two is coordinate bond. So both the electrons will be given by what? Ligands. Good. Now what are different types of ligands? Ligands, when they will donate electrons to central metal atom, the attachment or from the ligands, number of places or number of atoms that can be used to make bonds, we call that as ligation, or in terms that is called as denticity. Denticity simple means tethering. So from a ligand, how many atoms are able to donate electrons to the central metal atom? We call that as denticity. Suppose from a given atom, if only one is able to donate electrons, we call that ligand as one teeth containing. One teeth containing means from one atom only it's able to donate electrons. So those are called as monodentate. So on the basis of the number of donating atoms, what did I use the word? Denticity. So we have different types of ligands. What are those? We have monodentate. Then you have polydentate. Got it? This is one classification. Means from how many places, how many atoms are able to donate electrons to the central metal atom. We have monodentate and polydentate. In polydentate, you have further many classes. Polydentate can be bidentate or didentate. It can be tri, it can be tetra, it can be penta, and it can also be hexadentate. So polydentate ligands means what? In which the number of ligating atom is more than one. If the number of ligating atoms are 2 and both are donating the electrons, both are making the bonds at the same time, then it is bidentate. If 3 are able to do it, tridentate, 4 tetradentate, 5 pentadentate, 6 hexadentate. Am I clear? So this classification is on the basis of denticity. Then ligands can also be classified on the basis of their charge. Keep a track of the table. So ligand classification first on the basis of denticity. So this is on the basis of denticity. Now on the basis of charge you have what? Neutral ligands. Okay, then you have cationic ligands. Then you have anionic ligands. So on the basis of charge, what do we have? Neutral ligands, cationic ligands, and anionic ligands. Means different charges will be present. So we have, say, neutral ligands. What are the examples of different neutral ligands? We can take ammonia is an example of neutral ligand because the net charge on the ammonia is 0. Yes or no? And it has got a lone pair of electron on nitrogen. So denticity is 1. So ammonia is a monodentate ligand. Monodentate, but it is neutral. So it is monodentate neutral ligand. Then we can generally say we have classification in terms of monodentate and polydentate. Then within these ligands you can have cationic ligand, you can have anionic ligand, and you can have neutral ligand as well. So some of the examples of neutral ligands which are monodentate, I am talking about neutral ligands, but here because donating atom is only one, so it's a monodentate ligand. So it is on the basis of charge, cationic, anionic, and neutral ligands. But when you have neutral ligand, cationic ligand, and anionic ligand, broadly it can be a monodentate or polydentate. So generally classification of ligands is done on the basis of denticity, that is monodentate and polydentate. So within that we have ligands which are positively charged, negatively charged, and neutral. So let us take some examples here of monodentate ligands, but which are neutral ligands. Ammonia is a neutral ligand. Similar way, water, because oxygen contains how many lone pair of electrons, children? 2. So it is able to donate 1 lone pair of electrons from oxygen. It's again a monodentate ligand. Which one? Water. And in nomenclature, it's a general compound is ammonia. It is ammonia. But when you are writing it in nomenclature, NH3 is written as amine. What is written as? Amine. Am I clear here? It is neutral ligand, and in nomenclature we will discuss. When you have a neutral ligand, it is represented as such. No special name is given for it. So that we will discuss in nomenclature. So it is ammonia. It's a neutral ligand but monodentate. Water molecule again neutral ligand but Neutral ligand, right? Similar way, carbonyl carbon, it can donate from carbon. Again a monodentate ligand for us. Oh yes or no? Neutral ligand. Then you can have some of the ligands which are cationic. Suppose some of the cationic ligands, I'll write here children. We have NO plus. Then you have NO2 plus. This is called as nitronium. Sorry. NO plus. Then you got NO2 plus. Both are able to donate the electrons. So in nomenclature only I'll give the names. How do you use the name? And remember, any ligand which is finishing with the positive charge, its name at the end will finish with EM. Nitronium, nitrosonium. Am I clear or not? Very good. Now these are some, even hydrazine, hydrazinium. How is molecule? It will be NH2, then NH3 with a plus charge. That means nitrogen, one of the nitrogen has donated electron pair, accepted a proton, converts to NH3 plus. Actual formula is what? NH2 single bond NH2. This is hydrazine, but it is converted to positive charge. It becomes hydrazinium, positive charge. The name of the ligand finishes with EM, and it can donate electrons from where? Nitrogen. Clear? What are different anionic ligands? We know children, Cl minus. See, it is chloride. It is chloride. But when you are writing IUPAC norm for these compounds, coordination compounds, it becomes chlorido. So negative charge is usually finished with ide or O. So CHOLRIDE. E will be represented by O. Sorry, E will be replaced by O. So it will be chlorido. Then this can be fluoro or fluorido. This one is NO2 minus. It will be nitro. What it will be? Nitro. So whenever there is negative charge on a complex, it finishes with the name minus. Am I clear? So these are different what ligands? These are all monodentate ligands which are charges. Similar way, you can take many examples which are monodentate and are charged, or you can have neutral species as well. So monodentate ligands, I have given certain examples. You can further write children for your homework 10 examples of monodentate ligands. Important condition, it should have lone pair of electron and it should be in a position to donate the lone pair of electron clearly. Am I clear? Yes? Very good. Now, let us go to a very important part of this discussion further, which is what? Polydentate ligands. What ligands? Polydentate. Good. Now we are in polydentate ligand discussion, children. What are polydentate? That can donate from more than one place, right? So let me generalize the idea now with respect to ligands now. I will not take cationic, anionic ligands into consideration now. I will talk about general polydentate ligands. In that we can divide further into whether it is neutral or it is positively charged or it is negatively charged. Polydentate ligand can donate from more than one place. Yes or no? Clear? Now first in polydentate ligand we will take bidentate ligands. What ligands? Bidentate ligands. We'll take examples of some bidentate ligands. One of the examples of bidentate ligands is ethylene 1,2-diamine, or we call this as ethane diamine. So this is general 1,2-diamine means two amine groups will be at position 1 and 2. It's an ethylene group. So if you draw the structure of this, it will be carbon. So this is 2 carbon atoms. Then this is to be balanced by hydrogen. So I'll mention down 2 hydrogens here. So CH2. Still one valence is left out. So that will be nitrogen. And then here again we'll have 1 nitrogen attached. So this nitrogen is attached itself to 2 hydrogens. And then there is a lone pair of electron, because nitrogen has 5 valence electrons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this will be lone pair of electron. Similar way, there will be 2 hydrogens with this amine group, and then there is a lone pair of electron which can be donated. So it can donate from how many places, children, to the central metal atom? Suppose we have central metal atom, it can donate from how many places? 2 places. Thus it's a bidentate ligand. Clear or not? Now remember, whenever ligand is polydentate, around the central metal atom, it is able to make the ring structures. Monodentate ligand cannot do it. Because when monodentate ligand will make a bond with the central metal atom, it cannot do so. Suppose we have a complex like this metal atom attached by ammonia. Say we have 4 ammonia attached to it. Okay. Now metal atom attached by what? Ammonia. Then here also it is attached by ammonia. Here also it is by ammonia. And here also it is by ammonia. So monodentate ligands are not able to cyclize the structure at all. The tendency of polydentate ligand to develop ring structures around the metal atom is called as chelation, or we call this as chelating effect. And what does chelation do and what does chelating effect? It's like crab structures. So it's very simple. If you consider something over here, and when the crab will hold it by the tentacles here, so crab will hold it like this, right? So on the back, what will be developed? A ring structure is developed on the back, yes or no? So you can see that ring structure formed on the back, right? So as it tingles it out, a ring structure is formed on the back. Now this tendency of a polydentate ligand to make ring structure or to make rings around the central metal atom is called as chelation. And remember, this chelation brings stability to the complex more. Because 1, it reduces the surface area. Number 2, when the rings are made, the chances of making the bond are increased. I'll tell you one example. Suppose, if 1 ammonia is attached to metal atom, this is entropical push we call it. We can explain this chelation by entropy considerations also. But remember, 5-membered rings are more stable than 6-membered rings. Okay? Suppose if there is a ligand which is able to make 2 rings, and there is a ligand which is able to make more than 2 rings, then the one which is making more number of rings will be more stable. So the polydentate ligand which is able to make more rings will be more stabilizing. So if you have 2 ligands given, both are bringing chelating effect, which of the 2 is more stabilizing? The one which will create more rings. Am I clear? Okay. So here tell me, entropically how we can, and one more thing is there. And in the ring, those atoms which are making the ring structures, if they are in conjugation, then the stability of that ring will be more compared to the other, because conjugation will bring in resonance, and when resonance comes into play, it will be more stabilizing. Third important thing, 2 things explained. Third important thing is steric hindrance. That means in the rings, if the ligands are holding the side chains or side atoms which are more bulky, then the stability of that chelating ligand will be less. Fourth one, a very important one, is entropy consideration. Look here children, this one is thermodynamically governed. How I will explain it to you. Look, if suppose with the metal atom, in this bidentate ligand which is ethylene 1,2-diamine, or we call in short term we call this as EN, ethane diamine, EN, it's a short form of it. Okay, it is made a bond. Suppose one of the nitrogen atom, means one of the arm of this ligand has donated the electrons to central metal atom, right? Once electrons have been donated to central metal atom by one of the arm, then the chances of the other atom attaching the central metal atom will increase, because it will be looming around the central metal atom there only. And the chances of collision, as you might have read it in kinetics, that when the effective collisions are increased, rate of reaction will be more. So if one is already attached, other one is free, it is looming around, what are the chances of the other end to combine more? However, when you look in ammonia, suppose if one ammonia is attached, it doesn't cooperatively, because in hemoglobin, if you have heard about the concept called as cooperative binding, what happens there? In hemoglobin, we have two different sites. What's it? Main active site and allostric site. Right or not? Now what does happen? At one of the active sites, at one of the regions, when one of the oxygen attaches, these are 8 regions. When one of the oxygen attaches, it creates the activeness of these other sites to more. Means other sites are attached by oxygen. Saturation of the oxygen onto the hemoglobin increases. This is called as cooperative binding. When one atom will help the other regions to bind more. This is cooperative binding. Here also, one is helping the other to bind in chelation. But in monodentate ligand, suppose if one ammonia is attached, does it confirm me that the other ammonia will also be attached? No. One ammonia does not control the attachment of other ammonia to the central metal atom. Thus, here, thermodynamically, the chances of bond formation are more. So, chelation brings more stability compared to the individual ligands. Am I clear? Now, how does entropy affect it? Now, simple rule in biological sciences and simple rule in chemical sciences is that anything that affects the entropy of the medium will be always opposed. That affects the entropy of the medium will be always opposed. Have a look, children. If I have a bidentate ligand which is bigger, if you put this bidentate ligand in the medium molecules will do what? They will start to surround itself around what? This ligand. Due to that, the number of molecules present within the sample of that medium will decrease. So as the number of particles are decreased, what will happen to randomness? It will decrease, because we know randomness is an extensive property. It's a quantity based property. Thermodynamically, entropy is quantity based. Now, how can this medium come back into how can these liquid molecules, how can this water come back to the medium? Only possibility is when this ligand does not have the regions of attachment. If this ligand attached to central metal atom, then the randomness of the medium will increase, because whatever the molecules were adhered to it, they will come back to the medium. Got it or not? This is one of the reasons how proteins get folded in the medium as well. Because when you put the protein in the medium, it's in the form of messenger RNA molecule, right? Messenger RNA molecule is a linear molecule. And around this linear molecule, lots and lots of liquid, that is water and other things in cytoplasm of the cell will be adhered. What will happen is, the molecules are getting adhered to this messenger RNA molecule. Due to that, the entropy of the medium is reduced. But we know medium opposes, hates the change. Why randomness reduces, opposes the change? Because children, thermodynamically we know the two factors helping the spontaneity of the reaction are delta S and delta H. For any reaction to occur by itself, delta H should be negative and delta S should be positive. But when the number of water molecules in the cytoplasm are getting adhered to this messenger RNA molecule, remember messenger RNA molecule will be made up of amino acids, and amino acids will have side chains R. Those side chain R's have positive or negative charges present on it. Hydrogen bonding can come into play. So water molecule can get attached to that messenger RNA molecule. So that what will happen to the entropy of the medium? It will reduce. Now tell me, if the entropy of the medium has to increase further, what should happen? These adhered water molecules should come back to the medium. Yes, for these to come back to the medium, what does happen? The protein which has got more surface area covered in cytoplasm will start to fold up. Once it is folding up, the surface area exposed will decrease, and only this much area will be exposed. That will send more water into the medium, so that entropy will increase. So remember, entropical push is also one of the reasons for protein folding, and entropical push is also one of the reasons that stability of chelation, stability due to chelation is more. Because when chelation will occur, the atoms which can have the tendency to make a bonds with the water, right, are used up. Once they are used up, they are not free, interaction will not occur, medium will be further enhanced in its entropy. Thus, increased entropy of the medium is a push for ligands to chelate up, provided these are polydentate. Monodentate ligands will not be in a position to do this. Any polydentate ligand, whether it is positive charged or negative charged or neutral, will be able to bring chelation into play. Got it or not? So these are different factors which affect chelation. Right? Followed or not? Right. So ethylene 1,2-diamine, this is the ligand. So you are writing this by En, it can donate from 2 nitrogen atoms respectively, right? So this is a bidentate ligand. Then further, this is neutral bidentate ligand to be precise enough, right? Tell me the structure. It is CH2, CH2, NH2, and you got here NH2. Donation from where? Nitrogen. So 2 nitrogen atoms donating. And what is the oxidation state, children? Oxidation state is 0. The net charge of this complex on the whole is 0. So whenever ethylene diamine will come, you need not to give any charge to this, because this is a neutral didentate or bidentate ligand. This is a neutral bidentate ligand. Correct or not? We have one aromatic monodentate ligand called as pyridine. The formula is C6H5N. So you can draw that. So nitrogen can donate the electrons. So this is pyridine, and in terms of coordination compounds, we are writing this by Py. It can donate electrons from where? Nitrogen. So this is a neutral monodentate ligand which is aromatic. Clear or not? Pyridine. Now we have a polymer, or in other words a dimer of this pyridine, which is called as a dipyridine. In simple terms, this is called as dip. In short terms, in coordination compounds, we call that as dip. What's the structure? Structure is 2 nitrogen atoms, because it's carbon and hydrogen. One of the hydrogen will be removed from here. One of the hydrogen will be removed from the other end. We'll get nitrogen here also, aromatic system. And you have lone pair of electron which can be donated from where? Nitrogen. So what are, again, 2 nitrogen atoms are donors. You can see on the whole, what's the charge of this dip also? 0. What's the charge of pyridine also? 0. Keep it in mind, children. So it's a bidentate ligand. It can also bring chelation, but it will be sterically more hindered because it has got bulkiness on the sides of it. Clear or not? Anyway, so it can donate from 2 nitrogen. So it's a bidentate ligand. Am I clear or not? Clear? Few more bidentate ligands. I am discussing the polydentate ligand system, right? So few more bidentate ligands that we have, children, are, say we got oxalate, or I said a while earlier, it comes from oxalic acid. So oxalic acid is COOH, COOH. When the 2 protons will be donated, what will be the structure? C, double bond O, then O minus, then C, double bond O, O minus. So keep it in mind. Now there are 2 negative charges on it. Bidentate ligand. It can also bring chelation or not? Absolutely yes. Can it or not? And you can see the negative charge and double bond are in alternate positions. So conjugation can come into play. Stability exercised by it will be more. You are understanding what I am talking, children? Follow the proper things clearly, because we are doing integrated concepts here. So you need to understand everything, not like drawing diagrams and telling you just, okay, this is the thing that's happening here, this and that. No, you need to understand things very properly here. Don't rush into things. So this is our oxalic acid, and from there is oxalato. We can write that it is oxalato ion, because I said earlier the negative charges finishes with the word O. So this is oxalate or oxalato ion. What is the oxidation state? Very good. Oxidation state is -2. So remember, whenever there is oxalato group in the coordination compounds, the net charge of that type will be -2, means you need to give 2 electrons to it. And what are it? 2 oxygen atoms are donating the electrons. Now from here, oxalic acid, we can get one more compound. What is that called as? Acetato-ion. Actually, from acetic acid, we are getting acetate. So it, in terms of nomenclature, we'll call it acetato-ion. Tell me the structure for it. Here I'll draw it. Structure: CH3C double bond O, OH. That will be a negative charge. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a negative charge that you have on oxygen. And it can donate from how many places? One place. And for acetate ion, what's the charge? -1. Donation is from oxygen. Is it clear? Or did you understand this? What is this called as? Dipyridine or DP. DIP we call this as. So in nomenclature, in short terms also we call this as DIP. Clear? There is one more monodentate ligand, children. And we have its derivative also. Monodentate ligand and a derivative. We are discussing bidentates as well as monodentates. Got it? Acetate ion is monodentate. DIP is bidentate. Pyridine is monodentate. Then you have one compound called as PH3. What is that called as? Phosphine, right? And we know it will be pyramidal in shape because phosphorus will have one lone pair of electron. Hybridization will be sp3. Very simple thing to do. Now, if you replace these 3 hydrogens, you will get P, then a lone pair of electron, and it is replaced by 3 phenyl groups. So what does it become? PPP, triphenyl phosphine. Technically, we call that as triphenyl phosphine. It will be able to donate from how many places? 1 phosphorus. So it's a monodentate ligand, but it is highly sterically hindered. Anyway, it will not be able to chelate out the rings itself at all. No chelation is possible in this case. Triphenyl phosphine. So how do you write it? You write it PH thrice. PPH thrice. PPH thrice. Triphenyl phosphine. Earlier it was PH3. Now it is triphenyl phosphine for us. So it's a monodentate ligand again. Correct or not? Oh, clear? Okay. Fine. Then we can have, as I said about oxalic acid, ethane 1,2-diamine also I have talked about. We have one of the amino acids that can also act as a ligand, and that can also bring chelation. It's a bidentate ligand. It comes from glycine. And once it starts to act as a bidentate ligand, it becomes glycinato-ion. I will show you the structure. Tell me, children, every amino acid has got a chiral center except for this glycine. The reason is that in glycine, the central carbon, which is called as C alpha, 3 important groups always attached to the amino acids are carboxylic acid, then you got amine group, then you got hydrogen. These 3 are important components of every amino acid. Keep it in mind. 21 different amino acids will come into play on the base of the side chain, which is R. And in case of glycine, that R is hydrogen. This R can be CH2, CH2, COH, because if you know the classification of amino acids can be classified differently. One classification is on the basis of their acidic and basic property, which can be discussed on the basis of amine and COH groups. Now we usually say every amino acid has one NH2 and one COH, but this R which is present can be composed of different NH2 groups or COH groups. Depending upon what this R contains, you have acidic, basic or neutral amino acids. First of all, if you look on glycine, instead of that R you have hydrogen. So this C alpha is attached to 2 similar groups. So this is not chiral, this is achiral center. It's asymmetric or symmetric carbon. It will be a symmetric carbon as it's optically inactive. The only one amino acid in amino acid chemistry which is optically inactive is which one? Which one? Glycine. Now, when it loses one proton here, charge will be minus, and nitrogen has one lone pair of electron. So donation can occur from nitrogen and oxygen. So it's a hetero ligand, hetero bidentate ligand, because it can donate from how many places? 2 places. So if I draw the structure for this glycinato ion, what will be it? C. Then you got COO minus. Then you got NH2. Then you have H. Then you have H. So when it is making the ring cycle, or when it is cyclizing the structure, how can you write it? Suppose we have a metal atom here. Then donation is occurring from, first of all, let me write down here C double bond O. Then this is metal here. We have one more oxygen which is donating electrons. Then C is attached to C alpha, which has how many hydrogens? 2 hydrogens. Then that carbon is attached to what? N, which has how many hydrogens? 2 hydrogens. And this nitrogen will be able to donate electron to metal. So chelation has come into play. Followed. So you can directly write it like this. So we have metal atom. You have got oxygen. Then you can put the chain as C double bond O. Then you can move it like this. Because this will mention carbon here. HH, C alpha. Then N. You got HH, 1 electron donated to metal atom here. So chelation will come into play. So glycinato ion is donating electrons from where? Oxygen and nitrogen. Tell me the net charge of this. It is -1. So remember, glycinato ion will have the oxidation state of what? -1. Oxalato ion will have the charge of what? -2. Acetato ion has the charge of what? -1. Donation from oxygen. Donation from 2 oxygens. Donation from 2 nitrogens. Donation here also from 2 nitrogen. And am I clear? This is bidentate ligand. Right. So we'll go to some polydentate ligands now. Even you have few more bidentate ligands which are charges itself. See, basic thing, carbonic acid. I'm just giving you the basic protocol, where from we are getting it, and why we are writing 2 minus charges, why we are writing -1 charge, why it's somewhere neutral, right? So you need not to mug up anything here. So every ligand's basic fundamental I am giving, where from it is coming, and why there are, different oxidation states you are mentioning, clear? Right, carbonic acid, that will be C. Formula is H2CO3. So drawing the structure C, double bond O, you got oxygen attached to hydrogen, Now in medium, when it breaks, what does it give you? C double bond O, bond breaks. So you will get oxygen with a minus charge, oxygen with a minus charge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now 2 oxygen atoms with 2 negative charges can donate the electrons. So if they donate the electrons to the metal atom, again chelation comes into play. Now this is called as carbonate ion, right or not? But when you write the name, because negative charge it's finishing with, it will be carbonato. So what is the oxidation state of carbonate ion? -2. So anywhere in a coordination complex, if CO3 minus CO3 comes, and because when you are mentioning coordination compound, their charge will not be mentioned, because in IUPAC nomenclature we have that whenever a coordination complex is mentioned, it will be mentioned without charges, except if you have to show the charges, you have to show it as superscript on coordination complex on the whole. From there we can find out what is the oxidation state of different ligand systems. Okay, so it will be carbonato, right? What ligand? What ligand? Bidentate or tridentate? What? It is bidentate ligand. Again, chelating ligand. Let us talk about some higher ligands. Suppose some examples of a tridentate ligand. Donating from how many places? 3 places. One of the examples is a polymer of ethylene diamine. We call that as diethylene triamine. What do you have? Diethylene triamine. It's a neutral molecule. A while earlier I mentioned diene, diethylene or ethylene diamine. Now this is triene. It is tridentate ligand. Diethylene triamine. So we call that as triene. It is diene. What is it? Diene. A while earlier we use En. What is En? Ethylene diamine. This is diethylene triamine. Diethylene means how many ethylene groups are there? 2. So I'll mention those here. So there are 2 ethylene groups, carbon, carbon, and then there is carbon, carbon. According to this ligand, which is a tridentate ligand, all these are attached to each other, right? So how that is possible? We have nitrogen here. There will be one hydrogen here. Nitrogen will be having one lone pair of electron. I'll mention that hydrogen here now. This is attached to NH2, so donating atom is nitrogen here. And this is attached to one more NH2 donating atom, again nitrogen. So it can donate from how many places? 3 places. Again chelation can come into play or not? Yes or no? So it can donate from 3 places. Even bidentate ligands can donate from how many places? 2 places. But if you have any polydentate ligand, it is not necessary that a polydentate ligand donates from all places at all times. So if there are 3 places of donation, if there are 2 places of donation, if there is 1 place of donation, there is no other go. So if there are 3 places of donation or 2 places of donation or 4 places of donation or 5 or 6 places of donation, means dentistry is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, ligation is from different places. Not always necessary that a polydentate ligand will always donate from all places. In different cases, it can donate from different places. If it is tridentate, it can donate from 1 place also. So at that time, although it is tridentate, but it is acting as monodentate. So ligation will be 1 only. Means from that ligand, how many coordination numbers are possible? From here, 3 coordination numbers are possible. If it is making out of 3, it is making bond by 1 only. That means this polydentate ligand is acting as a monodentate ligand. If out of 3 places it can donate from 2 places, it is donating 2 places. It means tridentate is acting as bidentate. Here it is able to donate from 2 places, but if it donates from 1 place, so bidentate acts as monodentate. Similar way, hexadentate can act as tetradentate. Tetradentate ligand can act as tridentate. So if such things come into play, and a ligand is able to change its ligation on the basis of condition, such ligands are called as flexidentate ligands. What are they called as? Flexidentate ligands. Oh, clear? There will be one isomerism also coming into play from such type of ligands which show flexible character. Suppose molecular formula is same containing this ligand. The molecular formula is same. However, in one of its compound, it is donating from nitrogen 1 and nitrogen 2. In the next compound, it is donating from 1 and 3. This is called as ligand position isomerism. There is one isomerism called as ligand position isomerism. Am I clear here or not? Clear? There will be one type of isomerism developed by it. So such a nature is what nature? Flexidentate. So what is this ligand? Diethylene triamine. What type of ligand it is? It's a tridentate ligand. It can donate from how many places? 3 places. Then you can further elaborate it and make it a tetradentate ligand. How? This is represented by diene. That is called as triene. What we call it as? Triene. that is called as triethylene tetraamine. What do you call that as? Triethylene tetraamine. Clear? So what is this one? Diethylene triamine. So that will be carbon, 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 carbon. I won't mention hydrogens here. You can balance off these by hydrogens yourself. So here it is nitrogen. Here one more nitrogen. Here one more nitrogen. And here one more nitrogen. So it's NH2. This is NH. This is NH. This is NH. Carbon you can balance by hydrogens. Right, children? So how many ethylene groups are there? 3. So triethylene tetraamine. It can donate from how many places? 4 nitrogen atoms are the regions where from it can donate the place electrons. So this will be what? Triethylene tetraamine. It's called as triene. It's one of the examples of what ligands? Tetradentate. Again I say this tetradentate ligand has definitely the tendency to show flexible character. So those will be also called as flexidentate ligands. Clear? Are you understanding it or not? Tell me the oxidation state here. It is 0. And what are the donating atoms? Nitrogens. How many? 4. It will be what ligand? Tetradentate. Fine. Okay. Then you can have pentadentate ligand. Pentadentate ligand donation is from 5 places. 5 ligating atoms. Means from that particular ligand coordination number is 5. Means there are 5 atoms which are directly linked by coordinate bond to the central metal atom. So you have one example. Ethylene diamine triacetate ion. It comes from ethylene diamine triacetic acid. I'll show it. Nitrogen attached to nitrogen. How many hydrogens are there? 3. So those 3 hydrogens are attached to CH3, COOH. So H is removed, it will be minus. Then here CH3COO minus. Then here again CH3COO minus. Then you have hydrogen. So it is 2 amine groups, right? Because this is ethylene diamine. So what will be the group here? Instead of 2 nitrogens directly, it will be CH2 twice. Then this is nitrogen. Then this is nitrogen. CH2 twice. That is CH2. Then nitrogen. So it is ethylene diamine 1, 2, 3 triacetate ion. So actually it is ethylene diamine triacetic acid. So it can donate from how many places? 5. That will be 3 oxygens and 2 nitrogens. So this is the pentadentate ligand. It can act as a flexidentate ligand and it can lead to chelation as well. Correct or not? So in this ethylene diamine triacetate ion, what is the oxidation state? -3. So when you write it, you will write it like this. EDTA. When you mention 3 minus, it means ethylene diamine triacetate ion. Right? If you mention like this, EDTA 4 minus, then there are 4 negative charges. It will be removed. Yes. Once you remove it, it will be CH2 twice. You got N, you have CH3COO minus. Then CH3COO minus. Then here again, what is the atom here? Nitrogen. You have CH3COO minus and here also CH3COO minus. Then it makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So ligating atoms are how many? 6. So EDTA 4 minus is ethylene diamine tetraestic acid. So this will be ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid, and if it has to act as a ligand, it will be tetraacetate ion. Ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid or ethylene diamine tetraacetate ion will be the example of what ligand? Hexadentate ligand. Did you understand it, children? So these are different types of ligands in which atoms are donating electrons. And what is the ligating atoms here? How many ligating atoms are there? 6. So what will be the coordination number from EDTA 4 minus? It will be, coordination number will be 6. From EDTA 3 minus, coordination number will be 5. From ethylene diamine, coordination number will be 2. From oxalato, coordination number will be 2. Because there are 2 regions of electron donation. Am I clear here or not? Did you understand the examples here? What are different types of ligands here? Okay. What if, sir, a system is there, a ligand system is there, in which 2 atoms can donate electrons. Here, how many atoms are able to donate electrons? 6. Out of those 6, 1 can donate, so there is a flexible character. But if one donates, that doesn't mean other cannot donate. Others can also donate, and it can definitely make a bond. However, there is one class of ligands in which we talk about amphibians. What do amphibians do? They live both in water and land. Similar way, you have got a ligand system called as ambidentate ligands. Ambidentate ligands. What are they? Ambidentate ligands. In ambidentate ligands, 2 atoms can donate, but bond is made always by 1. So there are 2 possibilities. There are 2 atoms that can donate electrons, but out of those only 1 at a time will be joined. Suppose if one has made the bond, other loses the capacity to make the bond. And compared to ambidentate ligands, we have one more class of ligands called as bridging ligands. What are they called as? Bridging ligands. What do bridging ligands do? Bridging ligands do have more than 1 lone pair of electron, and they are able to donate both the lone pair of electrons, so that what they will do? So that 2 metal complexes are joined with each other. So bridging ligand is able to donate electrons to both the metal atoms itself. Like we have got N3 minus, it's a bridging ligand. Say we got O2 minus, we got O2 minus. Even nitrogen is a bridging ligand. We got OH minus, which is a bridging ligand. We have O2, which is a bridging ligand. However, there are certain ligands. Suppose we have got CN. What's it? CN. Charge is minus. Electron can be donated from carbon also. Electron can be donated from nitrogen, because electronic structure will be C, triple bond N. There is a minus charge, so there is a lone pair of electron on carbon here, and there is a lone pair of electron on nitrogen itself. So electron can be donated from carbon as well as from nitrogen. But when carbon has donated, nitrogen cannot donate. Or when nitrogen has donated, carbon cannot donate. Such ligands which have tendency to donate from more than one place, but will always donate from one place, are called as ambidentate ligands. But what did I talk about? Polydentate ligands. The ligands which have the tendency to donate from more than one place and can donate and will donate from more than one place. So ambidentate ligand is a special type of monodentate ligand, in which donation tendencies are from 2 places, but only one will be donated, and name also changes. And when there is ambidentate ligand, we have an isomerism coming into play. Let me tell you what. So if you have CN, children, and donation is from carbon, we call this as cyano, because this has minus charge at the end. Name finishes with O. Cyano, C, and other name will be cyano. And if the donation from nitrogen, it will be N. So children, metal atom in one case is donated by carbon, and the same molecular formula containing it is donated by nitrogen. Has molecular formula changed? No. Only the attaching atom has changed. The ligating atom has changed. This isomerism is called as linkage isomerism, because the bond strengths will vary. Metal carbon bond and metal nitrogen bond will be of same strength or different? Obviously different strength. Because the strength of the bond is different, physical and chemical property will definitely be varying. Clear? You call this sometimes as cyano, and this is called as isocyano. Clear or not? Similar way, we have a ligand system called as NO2 minus. It can donate from nitrogen or it can donate from oxygen. Oh, got it? So we can call it simply as nitro, isonitro, or it is called as nitrito N when the linkage is from nitrogen, or nitrito-O when the linkage is from oxygen. So this is how in nomenclature we will deal with different names and how linkage isomerism. And if you are asked what are the conditions for linkage isomerism to come into play, simple thing is look on a coordination compound, check for the ambidentate ligand, and if ambidentate is ligand present, definitely will have linkage isomerism coming to play. Like I said a while ago, ligand position isomerism also is available in a flexidentate ligand system. Am I clear, children? Did you understand the concept of ligands here? So you have understood the basic definitions of all the things. So in these classes, we have clearly demonstrated out the basic definition, the Alford-Warner theory, and we discussed different types of systems that a coordination compound is made up of. Now our next discussion, children, with respect to coordination compounds will be nomenclature of coordination compounds. Now how will we do nomenclature? We won't do it like by rules. We'll listen to the rules and then we'll do, no. We'll take examples of coordination complexes and write the names. While we are writing the names, we'll discuss the rules there, because it is better to drive a vehicle and understand the signals. Otherwise, if you try to understand the signals for whole life, you will never be able to remember all of those. Clear? Yes. Thank you, children.